Just to finish with that.
All right, Shalom, Lord in Christ. This is Wednesday's class, the law. I'm Priest and Officer Ashar, joining me with Officer Abadia. And today we're going to follow suit and go into, again, the laws before Moses. Because, you know, many people think that the laws only came when Moses came onto the scene. When meanwhile, you can find laws and the practices of these laws and the punishment for breaking these laws from before the time of Moses. You know, during the time of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, during the time of Abraham, during the time of Noah, right? You can find laws and punishment for laws before Moses stepped onto the scene, right? And what I would like to start with first is I want to go into idols, idols and idol worshiping, right? So, brother, for anyone that's watching, right, or even for you, about it, you know, we talking, we rapping and teaching, right? When do you think could be considered the first time we learn about idols, idol worshiping, or hinting to someone wanting to be an idol and be worshipped?
Who's we?
No, I'm saying us learning about it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's we? Like Israel, humanity?
Just anywhere in the Bible. Like, we meaning anyone that you can read about in the Bible. When idol worship first came onto the scene, when idols came onto the scene, when the thought of wanting to be an idol came onto the scene, just in that general ballpark.
Eve.
And I absolutely agree with you. Let's go there. Let's go to Genesis, right?
Right.
Can you put the scripture on the board too, please, Brother Sean?
Sure, sir.
What's that? Genesis the third. You put Genesis chapter 3.
SHALAM.
No particular verse. We just gonna work our way through. Right. So, stop here. Erase that. Put Jeremiah chapter 10 above it. I think it's 10 and 2. Learn not the way of the heathens, right? Put Jeremiah 10 and 2 up there first, and put learn not the ways of the heathen. And then we can put Genesis 3 underneath it. Because we have to make sure people understand the premise, which is idol worship, learning about idols, wanting to be an idol and wanting to be worshipped is the way of the heathen. Because if there weren't heathens, then we would only know what God wanted us to know, right? If Adam and Eve didn't mingle around heathens or be around heathens or have them around them, we would not know anything about idol worship or idol worshiping or wanting to be an idol and wanting to be worshipped. We would only know to worship the Most High God. Right. And that's it. So we always have to make sure we we played Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 2 first, because we don't want to choke ourselves and get stuck and put ourselves in a box where people say, oh, I.S.U.P.K said this is idol worship, or I.S.U.P.K said this is idol, or we want to make sure people understand the premise of why and what we're saying.
Right.
Right? So Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 2.
Right, I'm just making sure that's...
No? Yeah, it is.
I'm pretty sure I just want to make sure.
Your memory is stupendous, so I trust you.
God. All right, Genesis chapter 3.
So we're gonna start with Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 2.
Gotcha. All right, this is Jeremiah 10 and 2. Thus saith the Most High Power, learn not the way of the heathen.
What?
Learn not the way of the heathen.
Keep going.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them.
So here in Jeremiah chapter 10, all of this is after Moses. It's a great scripture to use to lead into us proving that there was things as idols, idol worshiping, and wanting to be in idol and worship before Moses, right? Yeah. So the Lord told us not to learn the way of the heathen. So basically, the Lord did not want us to learn about Buddha, Hinduism, right, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. Right. The Lord did not want us to learn about democracy and dictatorships. The Lord did not want us to learn homosexuality, lesbianism, cannibalism, bestiality. Right. The Lord did not want us to learn about what you call it? Let's just say a form of currency, right? Because back then we didn't have gold to trade. Gold wasn't something we would have thought to use. It was just supposed to be brotherhood. If someone needed something, we gave it to them. We traded one sheep for 500 pigeons or something like that.
Well, yeah. Sorry, there was currency, but our currency was like based off rocks, like in what's called like gold. Jeremiah explained it one time. Gold is no, the way they do gold is stupid, but
that's what I mean. Like their form of currency or was not what we were supposed to be doing.
Right, like the idiot Romans and the Greeks would actually use gold as their money, which is stupid because it's the opposite. Money or currency is rather like what's called something of value backed by something of no value. Correct. So you're basically taking something of value to use it to back something else. That's dumb. Correct.
Like using gold to
back silver.
Yes.
That's dumb.
You know, for instance, like here, the American currency used to be backed by gold. Right. So the money had value because it was being backed by something that had the value to match it. Right. Now the American dollar is not backed by gold anymore, so it's just like
it's backed by word.
Here's the paper. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we weren't supposed to learn any aspect of their way of life. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't supposed to stick needles into ourselves for acupuncture. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like that's not what we were into. Right. So when we're supposed to not learn the way of the heathen, we're only supposed to learn the ways that God showed us or God provided for us. Right? And this is where we jump into idols, idol worshiping, and wanting to be an idol and being worshipped when we go to Genesis chapter 3. And what's proof of that is in right here in 2021. Women today, just like Eve back then, want to know everything. Right. They want to be all-knowing like God is. Right. They want to be a God. Gods, according to heathen nations, they get worshipped, they get praised, they get talked about, they get songs, they get gifts, right? We want to be in the same position as the Most High is. Right. They want to be in the same position as all these other false religions and heathen nations that they practice. And this is the first instance of idol worshiping and wanting to be an idol or worship Because here, Eve wanted to learn the way of the heathen, which will put her in a position to know everything, know good and bad, to be like God, right? Let's read, brother. We start verse 1.
What's called Jeremiah, still, right?
No, Genesis.
Okay, yeah, Genesis.
No sweat. For everyone watching at home, we're now in Genesis chapter 3. We're starting at verse 1.
Genesis 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field.
Now here, in other classes, hopefully you've been watching, the serpent here is just a name for a person of another nation, of a heathen nation. The serpent is an animalistic depiction of the most subtle, sneaky, devilish lying of a man, right? The same spirit is what we attribute to the so-called white man today. He's a snake, he's a serpent. Or when someone that is a liar and a deceiver, we call them snakes, right? That same spirit. Keep going.
Donald John was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Most High Power had made.
And beast of the field is, again, when it's saying beast of the field, is just giving an animalistic personification to other people and other races of people, other tribes of people living on the land, or quote unquote the field. Continue, please.
Donald Johnson. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath the power said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden?
Now the serpent, right? This man is asking Eve, because the reason why we're saying man is because Adam and Eve weren't the first people on earth. There's other people living on earth as well. So this serpent, this man, is asking Eve, did God say you can't eat from any tree? Is there a tree in the garden that God said you can and cannot eat? Right? Please continue.
Donald John. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden.
And Eve is telling this serpent, this man, we can eat from the fruit of the trees of the garden. We can eat from almost anything in here in the garden, right? We can, technically what she's saying is, we can learn every single thing that's here in the garden that God wants us to know. What the Most High wants us to know, right? Keep going.
Donald John. 3. But of the tree of the fruit, which is in the midst of the garden.
Read that again.
But of the fruit of the tree, which is in the midst of the garden.
But there's one thing we cannot touch. There's one thing we cannot eat. There's one thing we cannot learn. Keep going.
God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die.
And the reason why is because God said if we touched it, if we ate it, if we learned it, we would die. Which makes sense about it if you think about it, right? Because the whole concept of death and life can be so simple or it can be so complex, right? On the simplest form, people die. You would think, you're living now and then one day you die, right? But on a deeper understanding, if Eve ate this fruit, she would know everything behind dying, right? We would know pain, suffering, hardship, death, sorrow, torment, right? All these things are attributed to death. That's on a deeper level of understanding. When you start to come into the I.S.U.P.K, you get the information to understand that death is more than just not waking up one day. Death is more than just lights out after you got hit by a car or shot or getting shot down. There's so much more that's attributed to dying, to death. Anything you want to say about it? Continue, please.
Johnson. SHALAM. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not die, surely die.
So the serpent's telling her, listen, don't worry about it. That's not true. If you eat from this tree, if you touch from this tree, if you learn from this, you're not going to die. So he's basically tricking her. He's basically trying to get her to go against what the Most High told her not to do. He's trying to get her to go against what her husband told her not to do. Right? Keep going.
John 4:5. For the power doeth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as God.
Say it again.
And ye shall be as God.
So he tells her, this serpent, this devil of a man, this deceiver, tells her, God knows you're not going to die. God doesn't want you to touch it, doesn't want you to eat it, doesn't want you to learn these things, because if you do, you would know everything that God does. You would know everything that God knows. You would be as God yourself. Now, what woman does not want to know everything that God knows? What woman doesn't want to be as a God? But yet, what woman doesn't want to be a God? Because here in 2021, women are so easily deceived by serpents and people who have the spirit of a serpent that all you got to do is tell a woman she's a goddess and you're sleeping with her. All you got to tell a woman is that she's more beautiful than the Egyptian hands, right? All you got to do is that she is a supreme being, ruler, empress of the world, and that without her, life wouldn't exist. Game her up and gas her head up so that way she thinks she's so special and on a pedestal so high and mighty like a god. She's then to be easily deceived after that. Because women love compliments. Women love to be told things that are not true but made to believe they are. And here in 2021, it hasn't changed. Eve back then, when she heard this, she loved the idea and thought of being like a god. And gods end up being turned into idols. Gods end up getting worshipped. Idols get worshipped. They make statues of women, and they make statues of female goddesses and women, and they worship them. They praise them, right? Like Athena in Greek mythology, right? Or Hera, or what's some Roman version? No, was it Jupiter? No, it's not Jupiter. Honestly, I can't think of any Roman goddesses. Oh wait, Reina. Is it Reina for Valentine, or is that like some type of
Lupercalia?
Lupercalia?
It's Valentine's Day.
I always forget these Roman gods because the Greeks made them more popular than Rome did, even though Rome came after Greece.
Right.
You know, but you have all these Egyptian goddesses. You have all these other ancient goddesses from other nations, and they get worshipped. They get praised. They get songs sung to them, made after them. Statues get made. One of the biggest ones is the Virgin Mary. There's a statue of the Virgin Mary in almost every church and almost every Hispanic person's household that people worship and praise, right? And Eve was gullible enough and tricked by this serpent to think that she would know everything that God knows, but more importantly, that she shall be as a God. Every woman loves to hear that. Keep going.
Concert. And ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food,
What?
Good for food.
And when she got ganged up,
Right.
when she got gassed up, when she got her head filled up, thinking that she would be as wise as God and be as a God, what did she think?
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food,
She thought, you know what? I want to be a God. I want to know everything. I want to be worshipped and praised and have statues made after me and have people get on their hands and knees and bow down to me. You know what? That tree is good for food. That tree, I should go touch it. That tree, I should go eat it. That, I should go learn. Keep going.
That it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise.
What?
And a tree to be desired to make one wise.
And this tree should be desired because it was going to make her wise like a God. And you know what that means about him? That she was going to be desired. She was going to be desired by people because she would be wise like God. She would be all-knowing like God. She would be worshipped like God. People would desire her. They would desire to make statues of her. They would desire to make little trinkets of her. They would desire to come bring her food and praise and sacrifice, because that's what you do for gods and idols. You worship them. And she said that they would be desired to make one wise. Keep going.
She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat.
And so this woman, so easily deceived to disobey God for the idea that she would be like a God, she ate from the she ate from the tree, and she also got Adam to eat from the tree. Right?
Right.
So what else? What else do you think we can learn about idols or idol worshiping? Right? What else do you think in the time before Moses can we learn about something like this?
What? Idol worship?
Idol worshiping, wanting to be an idol, or wanting to be worshipped. Say again?
Pharaoh.
Yeah. Let's go to it. You know, you have a specific place.
Genesis 40 and 20.
What?
Genesis 40 and 20.
40 and 20. Alright, let's go.
Yeah. What would you want me to put
Up here, wanting to be like God.
To be like God. Well, God. John.
Right? Because gods get worshipped.
Right.
Gods get praised.
Right.
Gods get turned into statues and put into every person's household on their bureau, on the dresser drawer. Gods get hung up on the walls in the doorway, right? Like, I don't know how many times I've been into a Hispanic household. Idol hanging up on the wall when you walk into the house, or some type of idol, a picture made of a fake god, or in the living room, or in the kitchen. You know what I mean? You said Genesis 40 and what?
40 and 20.
40 and 20? All right, let's get it.
There's Genesis, Salaki. 40 and, yeah, and it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants.
Anything else? That's it?
John. Well, that's mainly it, the birthday.
The birthday, wanting to be worshipped.
Right.
Because Pharaoh, if you look at Egyptian records, right? These pharaohs thought themselves as gods. The son of this god, or the god, the actual god, right? So on birthdays, it is a form of idol worshiping. Because the person who's being worshipped is the birthday person, right? Anywhere else? You can think of idols. We learn about idols or idol worshiping or wanting to be an idol before Moses.
How
about when what was it? Leah and her sister Rachel? Was it Rachel? Leah and her sister Rachel?
yeah, kind of. I was gonna say the Tower of Babel technically.
Oh, we can go there too, but let's go to that. Let's go to Genesis. When they're leaving Laban's house, Rachel steals her father's idols.
Right.
Right. What chapter is that?
That'd probably be about 35, 36. Because I know he meets Esau around 35. No, it must be 30.
31 and 34, I believe.
That have to be around that somewhere. Yeah, John. 31 and 34. There's 31, Genesis 31 and 34. Now Rachel,
wait, so I can hold on 1 second. Yes, let's put that on the board, Bobby Shaw.
Sure, John.
Right, because Laban was the brother of Rebecca.
Yes, John.
Right? So Rebecca, the husband of Isaac, Rebecca's family, right? They worship idols.
Right.
They worship false gods.
Right.
Meanwhile, Isaac was raised up with Abraham, his father.
Right.
And Abraham was taken, well, we can get there too.
Yeah, right.
Abraham learned to only worship the Most High Power because the Most High Power spoke to him and told him to leave his father's land. Right? So Isaac is raised up only knowing about the Most High. But Isaac married Rebecca, who comes from a family that worshipped idols.
Right.
You can put 34 to just right now.
Yes, John.
So right, and here in Genesis chapter 31, verse 34, we're learning about how Laban had idols. Rachel and Leah were brought up worshiping idols, and here Rachel ends up stealing the idols from with her husband Jacob. Go ahead.
Count, sir. 31 and 34.
Start verse 33, please.
33. And Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Then when he out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent.
Sorry, I apologize. Let's start at verse 30, please.
30.
Laban is speaking to Jacob here.
30. And now though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen thy power?
So here Jacob has left Laban's home and he's heading back to his own father's house, Isaac's house. Right? And Laban is upset because he thinks Jacob has stolen his gods.
Right.
That's how insignificant and how little the fake gods of these heathens are, that you can steal them, that you can pick them up and put them in your pocket. You cannot do that with the Most High God because he's not an idol. He's not a fake God that should be worshipped. He's not a fake God that you can actually make a figurine of as a representation of him. The Most High Power is the only living power. He lives, he breathes. You can't make a depiction of him. You can't turn him into a small statue and pick him up and put him in your pocket or put him in your book bag. So this is how small and insignificant and useless that Laban's gods are, because for someone to steal his gods, that means your gods have no power to stop them from being stolen from you. Keep going, please.
John 31, and Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, peradventure thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me.
And Jacob is answering. The reason why I left and wanted to go home was because I thought I was afraid of you and thought that you would take my wives, your daughters, away from me. Keep going.
32. With whomever thou findest thy gods, let him not live.
And Jacob tells Laban, listen, whoever has your little gods, your little small trinkets and gods, your little wooden statues or whatever, right? Whoever has them and we find them, let him not live. You can kill them. So whoever's stolen your little trinkets, your little gods, your little figurines, your little idols, when we find them, you can kill them. Keep going.
Before our brethren, the son thou, what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them.
But Jacob didn't know that Laban's daughter Rachel, his wife, Rachel, was the one who had actually stolen these idols, these false gods that belonged to Laban, her father. Keep going.
John. For Jacob, okay, sorry, 33. And Laban went into Jacob's tent.
So Laban goes into Jacob's tent first.
Right.
Keep going.
And Leah's tent.
And then into Leah's tent, his first daughter.
And into the two maidservants' tent.
And into the two maidservants that were given to Jacob, right? So he goes into Jacob's tent, don't find no idols. He searches. He goes into his daughter's tent, Leah, searches, couldn't find no idols. He goes into both servants that were given to Jacob as wives, couldn't find these idols anywhere. Searched the place up and down, can't find no idols. Can't find these little gods that you can pick up and put in your pocket. Keep going.
Then he went, but he found them not. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent.
Then he went into his other daughter's tent, Rachel's tent.
Right.
Keep going.
Right. Now 34. Now Rachel had taken the images. And
What?
Taken the images.
Rachel took the images, took these gods, took these little idols. You know why? Because she grew up loving these idols. She grew up worshiping these idols. She grew up praying, bowing down, bringing sacrifices to, giving thanks to these fake gods. Because Laban did the same thing. Laban taught her these things.
Right.
Laban's family taught him these things. Right? And Laban, the brother of Rebekah, who married Isaac, Jacob's father, she grew up knowing the same thing too. Right? Keep going.
Salakia.
And put them.
And put them in the camel's furniture.
Rachel hid them in the camel's furniture. Keep going.
And sat upon them.
And sat on it. So imagine like a little, what do people call those today? For instance, some couches come where you rest your foot.
Right.
But it's not attached to the actual sofa
Right.
couch.
Yeah,
sometimes you can lift them up and you can store
Right.
blankets in them in it. So think of something like that.
Right.
Like a foot seat that you can store things inside. She hides them in there and it sits on them. So while her dad, Laban, is running around her tent, lifting things up and searching everywhere, he's not thinking to search the one thing she's sitting on where her gods are actually being hidden. Keep going.
Right. God's word. That I did not, and Laban searched all the tent but found them not.
And he's going looking for them and he still can't find them. Because one thing about idols, right? Learning about idols, you learn from heathens. Another thing you learn from heathens is lying and stealing. So Rachel not only stole her dad's fake gods, She's lying about her stealing them and where they are because she just wants to worship them. She wants to love and praise them. Keep going.
John 35, and she said to her father, let it not displease my Lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon thee. And he searched, but found not the images.
So she tells him, listen, I can't get up right now, Dad. For the custom of women, if I'm not mistaken, that's her flower.
John.
She's either lying or telling the truth that she's on her period and she cannot get up from where she's sitting, so Laban can't even check there. And Laban can't find his idols. He can't find his gods. He can't find the things that he has to worship. Keep going.
John. And he searched, for the custom of women is upon thee, and he searched but found not the images. 36. And Jacob was wroth, and chose with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin, that thou hast so hotly pursued after me?
Okay, we can stop there. Right? So here's another one of the first instances we learned about idols, idol worshiping, and I've been wanting to be an idol, wanting to be worshipped, right? We learned about this, and it's before the time of Moses. What about the one from Abraham? When God told him to leave the gods of his fathers?
Right.
Where's that at in Genesis?
That would be about 11, 12.
I know it's mentioned in Joshua chapter 24, but I could have sworn it's also in Genesis. Sorry, I'm just looking for this. Brothers, this is online. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, John. Let's see if we got any questions.
What you said?
I said, let me see if we got any questions.
Okay.
Stuff.
Hold on. Okay, it's not in Genesis 11 or Genesis 12. In the meantime, right? Can you put up there Rachel stealing idols from Laban?
Oh, gotcha. Rachel stealing idols from Laban.
Yeah, Rachel stealing idols
from Laban.
From Laban. Alright, so let's also right there. Can you just Joshua, right, Baba Shah, brother? Joshua chapter 24, verse 2. Even though the book, Joshua 24 verse 2. Right, so even though the book of Joshua is after Moses, right?
Right.
Joshua is mentioning Abraham.
Right.
Who was way before Moses, who was way before way before Jacob, way before Isaac, right? And it starts over with Abraham, right? After Noah. Joshua chapter 24, verse 2, please.
Joshua 20. Oh, wait, so 24.
Not so real.
Give me 2 seconds. So I'll be about to shut that one.
Take your time. For everyone online, we're going to Joshua chapter 24, verse 2. Go ahead, brother.
This is Joshua 24 and 2. And Joshua said unto all the people, Thus saith the Most High Power of Israel, your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old time, even to Terah, the father of Abraham, and the father of Nahor. And they served other gods.
They did what?
Served other gods.
So during the time of Abraham, Abraham was raised up serving other gods.
Right.
Because his father Terah worshipped other gods.
Right.
And if it wasn't for the Most High choosing, picking, speaking to Abraham, Abraham would have kept serving these other gods, these false idols, right? Because if Laban had these false idols, right? What other idols and idol worshiping were going on with other people across the earth, right? So here we're learning that that other people during the time of Abraham and before him, that there were other gods that people worshiped. There were other idols that people worshiped. And again, with worshiping idols, with idols, you got idol worshiping. You got praying to idols. You got sacrificing to idols. You got bringing food and presents and gifts to fake gods who can't do nothing with them. Right? Underneath that, can you put John? Serving other gods. And this is before Abraham was chosen by the Most High to leave his land, to leave his father's land. Now let's go to Exodus chapter 20, verse 2 through 5.
Okay. Slacky, let me erase. I'll erase the one on the top.
Erase all the way down to Genesis, Baba Shah.
Wait, all the way.
So Genesis 31, please.
Oh, yeah, come on.
So we're still on idols, right? But now we're fast forwarding it to the time of Moses, when Moses was giving us the laws. Exodus chapter 20, Exodus chapter 20, verse 2 through 5. Because living in Egypt, right, we learned about all the idols that the Egyptians had. We learned about how the pharaohs thought of themselves as gods and wanted us to worship them on their birthdays and worship them throughout the days, right? As the Persians used to say, God kings, right? Read Baba Shah?
John. Exodus 20 and 2. I am the Most High thy power, which I brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house.
So Moses is telling us that God said that he is power. He is the real God. And he is the reason why fire came up while hail came from the sky. He's the reason why the Red Sea was split in half and we walked across it. He's the reason why the river turned red with blood. He's the reason why frogs came out of the river. He's the reason why every firstborn of the Egyptians were put to death. He's the reason that you're no longer in slavery in Egypt. Keep going.
Thou is the three. Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Again?
Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
And this is a commandment from God. You should not have no other gods, idols, things you worship, put at all. And you should definitely not put them before the Most High power. Basically, anything that these heathens worship, you cannot worship. Anything that these heathens believe in, you cannot believe in. Anything that these heathens praise and serve, you cannot do that, because I am the only power, and you can only have me. There's no other gods that exist that you should have. There's no other idols that exist that you should have. I am the only one. Thou shalt not put any gods before me. Keep going. What's it doing?
You sure? Yes, sir. Okay. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
We cannot do what?
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
Heathens make graven images of their fake gods and their fake idols, and they worship them. Keep going.
Or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath.
In Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2, it says, learn not the way of the heathens, and don't be dismayed and whatnot, because heathens use that and turn those into gods, into idols, and they worship them. They take things from the earth, like the trees, and they worship those trees. They take the rocks and they turn the rocks into gods, and they worship them. Right? They make figurines out of stone and wood, and they worship them. We're not supposed to do that. Keep going.
John. Or that is in the water under the earth.
We're not supposed to be worshiping fish gods.
Right.
Poseidon, the god of the sea. We're not supposed to be worshiping hurricanes and calling them huracan, right? And the so-called what the Taínos used to worship, the god huracan. Keep going.
John. 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them.
What?
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them.
We should not be bowing down to the images and stone carvings of Caesar Borgia, who people think is Jesus Christ. Yes. We should not be bowing down and worshiping the stone statues of the so-called Virgin Mary, or to Buddha, or to any Hindu god, right? We should not be bowing down to them. Keep going.
Yeah. For I, the Most High, thy power.
Nor serve them.
Huh?
You forgot nor serve them.
Nor serve them.
We're not supposed to be going to Buddha like the Asians do with those little incense burners that they light on and sticking them into the little pot filled of dirt or sand and bringing oranges and fruit. We're not supposed to be serving these gods. We're not supposed to be bringing them sacrifices and gifts and presents. We're not supposed to be putting presents underneath the Christmas tree, because that is an idol, and that is idol worshiping. Putting gifts and bringing gifts and putting them underneath the tree. Keep going, what we show?
John. For I am the Most High, thy power and the jealous God.
What?
I am the Most High of thy power and the jealous God.
Now don't think of this as trying to validate that there's other gods. When the Most High power is saying that he is a jealous power, he's not jealous of other gods, because there are no gods. There are no other gods. There are no other idols. He's jealous because you are putting your worship for something else when it's supposed to be for him. You're putting your serving for fake gods that don't exist when it should only be for the Most High. You're giving your attention, your love, your worship, your praise to things that are not real when they should be only for the Most High. That's why he's jealous. He's jealous because you are giving all this attention to something that's fake, to something that doesn't exist, to something that can't save you, to something that has never saved you, when it should be for him because he exists. He saved you. He's there. He's the one you can call on to fix your problems after worshiping to fake gods don't work. Keep going.
John. Nor serve them. For I am the Most High, thy power and the jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
Come. So here, right, Exodus, underneath Exodus, you should put thou shalt not serve, worship, have any gods but the Most High.
Worship and what else?
Serve, worship, bow down to.
Bow down to what
I would
else?
put fake gods / idols.
Fake gods / idols.
And right underneath that, put serve only the Most High.
Okay.
Right underneath it.
Okay. Serve only the Most High.
Okay, I'll wait before you leave. Can you erase everything below that and put on Deuteronomy 7, 4 through 5, publisher?
John, sir. Login photograph.
Right? So go ahead.
Dropped just fell on me from somewhere. Yeah, fine.
Make sure you put the cap on so it doesn't dry out.
Yeah, fine.
So for everyone at home, let's turn to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 4 through 5, all right?
John.
And everybody's going to read it when he gets a chance.
John.
No rush for it to take time.
Yeah, come on, sir. For they will turn away thy son from following me.
What will the heathens do?
They will turn away thy son from following me.
These white people, these Africans, these Asians, these Arabs, these East Indians, the Persians, the Iranians, the Pakistanis, the people from Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, the people from South Africa and Zimbabwe and Timbuktu, and from Sweden and Switzerland and Norway and Denmark, right? The people from Australia, they will turn us blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans away from serving the Most High God if we married them, if we intermingled with them, if we involved ourselves with them, if we learned their way of life,
Right.
if we learned their customs. We will end up joining their idols, we will end up worshiping their idols, we will end up serving their idols, and we're not supposed to be doing that. But we shall keep reading.
Got it. They will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other powers.
What will we end up doing?
They will serve other powers.
We will end up serving all these fake gods, all these fake idols, worshiping fake gods, worshiping fake idols, right? Our women will want to be like these fake gods and these fake idols.
Right.
Our women want to be wise like the fake god Athena,
Right.
right? And be worshipped and praised for being wise. Keep going, Moshe.
Counter. So will the anger of the Most High be kindled against me and destroy me suddenly.
And our punishments, right? Because we've gone through learning about idols before Moses, right? We got the law that we're not supposed to worship and serve these idols and gods and engage in idol worshiping. Now we got the punishment for what would happen if we did turn away from God and serve and worship and bow down to these fake gods and these fake idols, to worship them, right? The Lord's anger would be kindled against us and we would be destroyed suddenly. The Lord will punish us for worshiping fake gods. The Lord will punish us for serving fake idols. The Lord will punish us for us making graven images out of stone and rocks and trees, right? The Lord will punish us and destroy us. But this is what we should do. right? Whenever we encounter people with idol worshiping and serving other gods, this is what we're supposed to do. Keep going.
God on time, and destroy me suddenly. 5. But thus shall you deal with them.
This is how we should deal with the Asians and their fake religions and gods. This is how we should deal with Arabs and their fake religions and gods. This is how we should deal with every other race of people that is not blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, right? And this is how we should deal with our own people who worship fake gods because they learned it from these other races of people. Please continue.
Ye shall destroy their altars.
We should destroy the altars that they have created to serve and worship and praise these fake gods, these fake idols. Keep going.
And break down their images.
We should tear down that Caesar Borgia, we should tear down that picture of Caesar Borgia. We should tear down that picture of the Virgin Mary. We should tear down all these fake images. Continue, please.
And cut down their groves.
And cut down their groves, their places of worship and idol worshiping and serving. Keep going.
And burn their graven images with fire.
And we should burn their fake gods. We should burn their fake idols until they're dust and ash and nothing. Because the gods of the Asians are nothing. The gods of the Arabs, Allah for the Arab is nothing. Buddha is nothing. The Greek gods are nothing. The Roman gods are nothing. The many different gods of the Africans are nothing. And we should burn them all and destroy them. That is what we were supposed to do during the time of Moses and after. Now, what we can do now is get them out of our house. Get that Caesar Borgia picture out of your house. Destroy it. Hey, listen, if you want to go ahead and burn it, make sure you have a fire extinguisher, put it in the sink so you have a faucet. Get rid of it. Get that crucifix out of your house. Get the Quran out of your house, right? Get little imitation stones of Mecca out of your house. Get rid of them all. Get rid of that little fat Buddha you have sitting on your living room counter. Get all these fake things out of your house. Destroy them. Throw them out. They're worthless. They're nothing. They have no power. Right? So that's just about. Well, there's more examples of idol worshiping, right? In the scriptures, but here we went from before Moses and we learned the laws and the punishment for having idols. Now, if you don't mind, Abadia, if you can put adultery up there, if you can erase everything about Rishon and put adultery.
Time.
Because adultery took place. And then you can put Genesis chapter 35, verse 22.
35 and what?
22, please.
22. Con.
Here's one of the first instances that we read about adultery. Right? And later on, we're going to get into what adultery is that validates that this is one of the first instances of adultery. Can you read about Michelle?
This is Genesis 35 and 22. It came to pass when Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went.
Reuben is one of the sons of Israel, one of the sons of Jacob, right? Reuben is the firstborn son of Israel. Keep going.
That Reuben went and lay with Balaam, his father's Balaam.
And Reuben decided to lay with this woman named Balaam, to have sex with this woman named Balaam. Keep reading.
His father's concubine.
His father's what?
Concubine.
Now, when a man lays with a woman, when a man sleeps with a woman, that woman now belongs to him. Concubine is just another way of saying, if I'm not mistaken about it, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just another way of saying my woman or my wife, my rib, right? But a concubine is not gained through the same means of a regular wife.
Right.
With a wife, you would normally go to the father, ask some type of agreement and exchange of there's a wedding ceremony, and then there's there's a time when you and your new woman go and have sex, go sleep together, and you bring the bloody bed sheet to the father as proof that she is now your wife.
Right.
With a concubine is normally gained from war. So, for instance, if for example, I were to go to war with another Israelite, during the time of David, David was in constant warfare with other Israelites, like the Benjamites, right? After war, whoever won, there's women around that are now husbandless. There's women now that don't have any fathers that you can go to ask for their hand in marriage. Right. So what a man would do is he would find a woman who's deserted, who's by herself, who's alone, and he would take her into his household. And I believe for 30 days she would mourn and put sackcloth on, and then he would take her as his wife. Right. That is what a concubine is. But in a sense, if you want to think about it, it's still your wife. Right? Gained through the same means of a traditional marriage or a traditional of a wife. Right. So Reuben slept with Bilhah, who is the wife of a woman and belongs to his father Israel. Right. Father's woman. Just like brothers with their best friend's girlfriend. Right? This is adultery. This is one of the first instances that we learn about adultery. Can we go to Genesis? Underneath here, Baba, can you put Reuben sleeps with father's woman? Reuben sleeps with father's woman. Underneath that, can you put on Genesis 49, verse 4? And underneath that, can you put on punishment for adultery? Sorry.
John.
Reuben's punishment for adultery. I'm sorry, brother.
John.
Let's go to Genesis chapter 49, verse 4, Brother Shah.
Good time. Genesis 49 and 4. Unstable as water, thou shalt not accept, because thy father's bed. Then the father's thou, he went up to my couch.
Right? Reuben, because he committed adultery with his father's woman, this was his punishment. Right? This is what I believe Jacob was giving like blessings and telling like the future or fortune for his kids. Right. And he gets to Reuben. Verse 3, it says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength. the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou went up to thy father's bed and defilest it. So Jacob is telling the curse or the punishment or the results of Reuben's actions of committing adultery and sleeping with his father's woman. Reuben would not excel. Right? Reuben will be unstable, like water. Reuben won't be able to, will be in constant movement, won't be able to settle down. Right? Let's go to Exodus chapter 20. Let's go into the time of Moses now, and let's get this law for adultery. Exodus chapter 20, verse 14.
20, verse 14.
Yes, Uncle Sean. And you just write down the board and just put, don't commit adultery. Adultery. Water.
Don't commit adultery. Johnson.
Yes, the water.
I am the board.
And let's get on, let's read Exodus chapter 20, verse 14.
Exodus 20 and 14. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
What?
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
So we have a law that says thou shalt not commit adultery. Right? As the examples from Genesis says, right, we can conclude that adultery is when a man sleeps with another man, which is correct. Adultery is when a man sleeps with a woman. Just think of it as a man doing anything sexual with another man's woman. You kissing another man, you kissing another man's woman, adultery. Let's just put it as simple as that. You holding hands and walking down the beach in the sand with another man's woman, that's adultery. I don't want to be with that woman anymore. A body doesn't want to be with that woman anymore. Right? That's adultery. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 22 and let's find the punishment for adultery. Also, adultery is also when a woman who has a man, has a husband, engages in intimate relationships or has sex with another man that is not her husband. Let's make that clear, because adultery is also for women as well. When a woman already belongs to a man and has a husband, engages in sexual encounters with another man that is not her husband. All right? Keep going, Bible chapter. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 22.
Wait, where?
Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 22.
22, verse 22?
Yes, please. No, that's not going to take time. For everyone that's at home, we're going to Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 22.
Fine. Wait. Oh, it's not good.
Is that the wrong one?
I got it. 22 and 22?
Yes, please.
Deuteronomy 22 and 22. If a man be found lying with a woman married to her husband.
What?
If a man be found lying with a woman married to her husband.
If a man is found out, whether in the act or after the fact, is having sex with a woman that already has a husband, keep going.
Then they shall both of them, both the man that lay with the woman.
You missed something. Can you read it again, Bible chapter?
If a man be found lying with a woman married to her husband, then they shall both of them die.
Yes. Both that man and that woman who has a husband, both of them should be put to death. That's the punishment for adultery. Keep going.
Both the man that lay with the woman and the woman, so shalt thou put away evil from Israel.
Because this is evil for you to sleep with your brother's wife. Now I know many of us coming into the truth and still in the world, this is something that we found ourselves into, right? So we have to be cautious, because now no one's putting us to death for these things, but we will have to answer for these things, right? You will be shamed. You would have to stand before counsel and be put to shame. And if you are a brother who loves your brother, you should have never done that in the first place. But you will be put to shame. You will be embarrassed. And when the time comes, you would have to stand before Christ and stand before the Most High and answer for your crimes, and take your punishment. Right? Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20, verse 10.
John. Leviticus 20 and 10, and the man that committed adultery with another man's wife.
And a man that commits adultery with another man's wife, when a man sleeps with another man's woman, keep going.
Even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress, shall surely be put to death.
Both the adulterer and the adulteress should be put to death. Can you write adultery equals death? Dr. Michelle? You don't have to spell the word equal. Okay, cool. Adultery equals death. So here we learned about the law of not committing adultery, and now we learn the punishment for committing adultery, which is death. For you, for that woman, both of you were supposed to be put to death. Now, if it wasn't for Christ, we wouldn't have forgiveness and repentance and the ability to never do that again, right? But that was the punishment during the time of Moses. The adulterers were to be put to death. Now, I want to read one last scripture read for us to avoid even adultery. And it's from our King, Yahushai's lips. Matthew chapter 5, verse 27 through 28, Bible shot. You can read it.
John 7. (27 and 28).
Chapter 5, John. Verse 27 and 28.
John. Ye have heard that it was said, thou shalt not commit adultery.
So the letter of the law was, in the old days, we all heard that we're not supposed to commit adultery. Because if you commit adultery, you'll be put to death. Right? Keep going.
28. But I say unto you.
Christ says, but I say unto you. Christ right now is about to add on something more powerful than thou shalt not. He's trying to give us a deeper understanding of brotherhood and the spirit behind these laws that we were given. Please continue.
But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on her,
for any man that were to look upon a woman, lust after her, desire her, want to sleep with her, you don't even know this woman, but now you're thinking about her fat butt, naked cheeks. You imagine things in your head. You wanted to be with her and lay with her. Keep going.
But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her, hath committed adultery in his heart.
You have committed what?
Adultery with her already in his heart.
If you're thinking these things, you already committed adultery in your heart. Because you don't even know if that woman has a man. And you're thinking about sleeping with her.
Right.
You're thinking about doing all these sexual things with her.
Right.
That's so before you even think these thoughts, go find out if that woman belongs to a man or has a man. There's nothing wrong with you asking. No, a lot of married women normally may have rings on their fingers. So the moment you see that ring, leave her alone. The moment you ask her if she has a man or a husband or a boyfriend, and she says yes, even if she's lying, and she says yes, leave her alone. It will prevent you from committing adultery in your heart.
Right.
And with that, I pass the class over to priest and officer of 1,000 Abadi. Shalom, Israel.